open the meeting. Good evening, everyone. And let's turn first, if we might, to the minutes.
All right.
June 14th meeting.
Make a motion, we accept.
Second.
Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Let's see, let's go then, do we have any tabled items to discuss? Okay. Then let's go to item number 1 on tonight's agenda and ask any questions for clarity purposes there?
We did have
change.
I think your numbers have changed.
a revision there that I
Okay.
haven't quite reviewed myself, but he did submit that just prior to the meeting.
Okay, so what's the change
Gonna
there?
move further south, I think. Is that correct?
It's-
Further south?
20 feet from the property line and now farther back, from what I understood.
I thought it was off the property line more.
Yeah, so now from at 10 to 20,
Right.
so it's now to 20, but I think now, so it doesn't touch, it's farther than 10 feet away from the existing barn, it had to go farther to the back.
The garage? I don't think so.
The barn itself would move 30 feet cone and line up with the garage.
So what did you have before as far as space
12 and a
between?
half I had written down on the previous application I submitted,
No, the space,
but it would be 10 feet from the property line.
when it was 10 feet from the property line, what would the space be to the garage, between the barn and the garage? 20?
Not quite, no. This is Peter Matthews, by the way. He's going to be working on moving the barn for me.
If we move it 20 feet from the lot line, it's going to be right close to the garage. If we move it 10 feet from the lot, right now it's 2 inches from the lot line. If it gets moved 10 feet over,
There'll be more
with the
space.
garage, it'll be about 12 or 14 feet
That's
between the building and the garage.
Okay.
So you're not requesting to change it then, we have something from the neighbor that says they prefer 20.
Yeah.
Okay.
Harold.
That was based on a conversation, well, it was an email conversation I had with him that, based upon the previous submissions that were received, I was calculating that the barn was going to be about 20 feet from the property line. So I can't speak for her, because originally she thought the barn was going to be 50 feet from the property line. When I told her it was only going to be 20 feet, she was still good with it. Would she still be good with 10 feet? I don't know the answer to that question, but it's still greater than where they are now.
Right.
Okay.
And
Go ahead.
I did advertise it for,
That's what I was about to ask Pete.
right,
Is there, you have any thoughts or recommendation on the issue of pre-existing non-conforming versus variance?
That's why the preference for is pre-existing.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say
Why?
it's better because isn't one of our rules to grant as least amount of variances as we can? If you
Yeah,
do a
generally.
pre-existing non-conforming and the barn comes down or is taken down, then you lose it. If you have a variance, then you could put a
Goes with the
replacement
property.
structure
the
there.
property.
Goes with the
So I think the least amount of relief would be to do a non-conforming. It makes sense anyways, 'cause they're not changing, they're not expanding the barn. They're leaving it.
And they're making it better.
Better, and they're
Bringing it
making it
into
more
the
compliant.
Say, well, that's what we rely on a lot,
And-
say that.
and-
So,
So that makes
let's say
sense to
we do that. By the way, is there any,
It's noticed for either.
it is
Right,
notice for either.
It's not for either.
From a legal standpoint, is there one that you're leaning toward that we have to versus the other, or we have the discretion to do either?
I think I prefer the variance route myself.
Okay.
Would prefer variance?
Yeah, isn't it?
No.
No, pre-existing
Pre-existing.
non-conforming.
Oh, I see, so you don't have to.
So there is no variance.
You could go either way. I mean,
We could, that's the question.
Yeah.
All right, great, great.
Now, do we have to do this on TV, or is this good enough to do it on TV? To just
Well,
make
we'll
it
note,
free?
we'll
Yeah, we
note
got to a
something
hearing.
before, and
Yeah,
it
we'll
was
go through the
advertised for
hearing
both, but we're
Okay.
considering it under, and was everybody okay with pre-existing non-conforming?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll do that.
And I had that discussion with the applicant that whichever one was decided.
Yeah, well,
not
it
to
was
go
a
for,
wise course
it
of
would-
action
it
to
would
put them
just
in
be
for
a-
both, that way we don't have to come back.
Right. That's-
Okay, how about number 2? Any questions for clarification there?
So what you're telling me is this is now, they've okayed it. This is something new? Can you give us?
The planning board at their last meeting, what was the date on it? 14th?
Last week.
Last week. They approved it conditionally with the, one of the conditions being that they received the variance from the zoning board of appeals for.
Well, that was in the other one too, right?
Which other one?
It was in the one you gave us.
Oh, I emailed that to you, yes.
Yeah, we have.
Yes, I emailed it to you.
So this is the same thing
That
that
is
we
the
had
same one that I
before?
emailed to you, yes. When I got it from Zach, I emailed it out to you guys, and this is the first time Carol will see it.
Okay, I got you.
So,
Emailed to you, Dan, Joe,
Yeah,
and Mike.
yeah, I got it.
given the fact that this planning board approval is conditioned upon our approval of the current variance request, is it safe to say the planning board's in favor of the variance?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. All right, because we don't have a memo to that effect. but
Right.
Maybe this is self-evident from the resolution. Okay, anything else on that one?
No,
And Harold, did you want to talk, some of us have received emails about that property. It's, I forget the name of it.
Qualtro.
Qualtro. And,
Yeah, okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
yeah.
Are you familiar with this at all?
What are you talking about?
She doesn't have emails.
No.
no, because I don't think it got out to you.
Yeah.
But you probably remember back in October 17th of 2013, the board denied Mr. Hopper's request to expand his patios that he had back there. And subsequent to that,
Oh, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but there was strenuous opposition from the neighbors.
from the neighbors, correct.
Whose names are
Uh,
Milner?
Milner and
That's okay, mother and son and daughter.
mother, son, daughter.
I don't know if you remember if any of this is coming back or not, but.
Yeah, never mind.
And following that decision, Andy worked with the applicant and resolved the non-compliance issues that were based upon the decision of denial.
Okay.
2014, we received a complaint from the neighbor again in regards to some work that Mr. Hopper was doing there. And it was subsequently determined by Andy Sevegas that he was doing some repair work to the existing patios and to a fence. As you recall, there was an older fence that was right on the property line. I want to say like 2 or 3 inches. And he was in the process of
Excuse me, the neighbor complained about the condition of that too, right? I think.
as a complaint, correct, right. And at the time, Mr. Hopper did some remedial work to it, but then eventually decided he wanted to replace the fence. And through the process of replacing the fence, he built sort of a small little decorative retaining wall, and then built the fence on top of that, and now he's got a little wall, probably about 12 to 15 inches tall, and a fence on top of that. Along with, he was doing some other work associated with the patios.
Can I stop you? What size fence on top of it?
It's a 6-foot high fence from
On this parapet that he
up,
built?
6-foot high fence.
Okay.
And that is how
Total
tall?
6?
The retaining wall is how tall?
12, 15 inches. I think it was
So
two.
it's now
two-
That's about
two
7.5 feet
High.
tall?
Our interpretation is that the fence is sitting on top of a grade area, although it's been altered. That's where we measure the
So
height from.
it's not a structure, it's earth that's mounted?
No, it's
No, it's
actually brick stone.
Yeah, it's a retaining wall system. I don't know what.
Yeah, blockers.
So how
Yeah,
is
it's-
that
On
2
On one side, a retaining wall on one side, and then dirt on the back, like that's going to the neighbors?
No, he did nothing to their side. He did nothing to their side. He went right, he had the property surveyed, strung a line, and the guys worked from his side of the property, built the retaining wall, and then backfilled it, and then built the fence on top of that.
On his whole property?
No, it doesn't go the full length of what is his rear yard and their side yard. As you recall, I think it went from about where the corner of his house, as it's on the southwest side of the property, which is closest to Qualtro Road. And then it went from there just a little bit past the garage. I believe.
Okay, so what you're saying is he built a retaining wall 15 inches, say with block or brick or whatever, right? Went so far, filled that area in with dirt, stopped.
Permit?
Okay?
He's not required to get a permit for that.
All right,
That-
how high could the retaining wall?
Let me finish 1 second. So then he stopped it, and there's no retaining wall over here.
That is my understanding.
Okay, so he put a 6-foot fence on top of the retaining wall,
Correct.
then he went down and put a 6-foot fence on the ground?
I believe the 6-foot-high fence and the retaining wall
End at the same place?
Start and stop fairly close to the end, because you can't necessarily stop the retaining wall right where the post ends, because you need to return the wall a little bit, so it did extend.
Yeah, no, I understand.
What
So
was
you
he
just built
retain-
it on
Doesn't a
retaining?
retaining wall have to retain existing?
Well, the problem was that his side of the property
Yeah.
dropped off significantly to theirs, and without putting a wall there, he was gonna have a problem with trying to retain some soils there, so he decided to do something decorative with, I think he thought was
So
visibly-
He leveled off his property in a sense, in
Yeah.
that area.
Yeah,
Okay,
he
he
leveled
didn't
his-
build it higher than what?
No,
He's got a.
no, that's my
That goes
understanding.
down, build it up,
That,
and then put a fence on.
He had an existing patio that my understanding is the elevation of the patio did not change.
Okay.
And the extent of the patio didn't change.
But the elevation of the fence changed,
The elevation of the fence changed.
and that's what they're complaining about?
Well, no, so
That
that
was-
was 2014.
That was 2014, and
What,
the
did they
determination
complain about the
was...
height of it, or did they complain the
They
look?
did complain about the height of the fence.
Okay, so
yes.
they come to you, meaning the town, and the
Yes.
town concludes that the retaining wall is not gonna be part of the calculation for
Correct.
the height.
Right,
So,
that's
but
what we typically do.
nobody filed an appeal from that decision?
That is correct.
Okay, all right.
And then earlier this year, they re-established a complaint saying that he's doing more work. And in furtherance of creating a larger patio, which was denied. And my understanding is that he was doing some work to extend the retaining wall and the fence a little bit further east, which is further down the property line that they share. And then he was also building a walkway to go from the patio area around to the front yard someplace.
Okay. And the neighbors view that as an expansion of the patio, which
Correct.
this board
And
had
the walkway
previously
goes
denied.
alongside the end of the existing patio?
I'm not sure exactly where the walkway goes, but my understanding is Andy's determination was that it was a walk. It was not an expansion of the patio.
You know, I'm really trying to picture this in my mind. So now, on the neighbor side of the fence, they see that retaining wall, and then there's a 6-foot fence on top of it. So on their side, on their property,
It's
8 feet off the ground.
8.5 foot off the ground, yeah, 7.5
Yeah,
foot off the ground.
right, whatever the elevation of the retaining wall system, plus a little bit of clearance at the bottom of the fence, and then the fence panels. And then typically, we don't measure the top of the post where they stick up a little bit, just because...
So has Andy described this in any greater detail in it? Is it different material, this walkway and that patio? Is it attached to it? And does it extend it out where, you know?
Well, I presume it attaches to it, because my understanding is the intention was for them to provide a walkway going from that
Well,
patio.
attaches at the end of it or parallel to it? There's a
You
big
could
difference.
attach it here and attach it here.
Do we know
Yeah,
that?
which makes
I
it, yeah.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, I'm sorry, Carol.
What is the fence made of?
Vinyl. PVC.
You can't see through it at
And
all?
this is in front of us in advisory capacity, since nothing's been...
Here's why we're talking about it because I asked that we talk about it,
Okay.
because I received communications from the neighbor, in essence saying that, hey, your board denied this application 3 years ago, and yet they are doing something that flies in the face of your decision. So I reached out to the town folks, received an explanation, understand that there's differing opinions, which in life there quite often are, and asked Harold, because it's our board, to update us. So there's nothing before us, other than...
There's nothing else
sort of-
really we can do.
And I did speak with the neighbor and said that we'd get an update. So,
You said, you mean the Milners?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, because they did reach out, so. Okay?
My-
What is
my-
this address again? What's the address?
About 11 something Qualtrough, 1188.
Right on the corner of the
The
street.
Hoppers-
There's a cross street too. What's the?
It's Kyle Drive.
Kyle.
The Hoppers are 1656
Yeah, that was
Qualtrough
close,
Road.
wasn't it?
I guess my only question to Pete would be, in their attempt to reach out to the chairman, does that constitute a request for interpretation of the code enforcement officer's decision?
I would think it would probably have to be in writing, maybe?
Well,
If they
probably
want-
wasn't writing, they reached out to you, right?
It's an email, but I can show it to you. It's
I
just
think
a,
you-
hey,
I think you
you
forwarded
guys
it.
should know this.
Yeah, I think you were part of the
Yeah, I think you forwarded
email
it.
strings.
Oh.
There was a lengthy email I saw at some point from Tom Tett that had,
A response.
there was a response back
Then there was a
to,
response to that.
I didn't see the response back to that.
Well, Andy wrote the response, and then Tom sort of just copied and pasted it in. Yeah. So all the information you see relative to the various points that they wanted answers to were given by Andy, basically.
Okay.
They have, I mean, you could tell them they have a right to appeal any determination,
For how long?
30 days.
30 days.
From the determination?
Yeah.
Right.
So this one in 2014 is
Well, I don't know if they have, what are they appealing from?
their decision
Yeah.
that the foundation is not included in the calculation, I suppose.
Well, that
What is
I
that
think, that I think
official
is too far gone, I think.
They're
That
going
was-
to walkway, isn't a walkway,
that was
not a
walkway and
patio.
not a patio, because that was one of the questions that she sort of represented back to Tom and Andy.
And so
What's
they
the
made a
definition of the
determination, and so if they want to appeal that, they can appeal it within
Right.
30 days, and then it would be a matter before this board and its appellate jurisdiction, which happens probably once every, we've had some.
You've had some,
The
right?
there was a there was a landscaper, that was a
Right.
home
Occupant.
occupants.
Right, there was
what is it?
the fence over on Any Trail Drive.
Yeah, so it happens,
Right.
so if they wanted to.
Or I shouldn't say it wasn't the fence, it was noise associated with a pool pump filter and that
Oh,
we
yeah.
determined
Remember that one.
wasn't a violation.
Okay, well, thank you for listening to that. Keep us posted if anything comes up. And anything else on tonight's agenda? All right, we have about 10 minutes, although my watch is fast.
No, I know, I got about 5.
5:53.
Yeah, it says-
All right, so that's a little slow. So let's, about 5 minutes, and then we'll promptly start the public hearings. We stand adjourned for now. Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a regularly scheduled meeting of the Penfield Zoning Board of Appeals. Tonight's meeting is going to take place in 2 parts. The first part will be our public hearing. We'll ask the applicant to come up to that podium there and give us a name and address, and then explain to the board why the relief requested should be granted. After the applicant is done, board members will likely have some questions of the applicant, and then we'll invite anyone in the audience that cares to speak about the application to come up and do the same thing, give us name and address, and then speak his or her mind. After the public hearings are adjourned, we'll take a brief recess, and then we will reconvene in the back of the room to deliberate on the applications and to take care of any other unfinished business the board may have. Members of the public are certainly welcome at both sessions. It's an open meeting. But the deliberations are times generally reserved for conversation amongst board members with staff, and with council on occasion. As I said, you're welcome to attend both. You don't have to. If you want to leave but are curious as to what action, if any, the board took on a particular item, you can call tomorrow the zoning department, Christine and Harold or other folks, and you can find out, as I said, what action, if any, the board took. Every meeting, I like to point out on behalf of our board that we think the town does a very good job of notifying neighbors in the area of applications, that the applications are going to be heard. And the reason a town does this is so that citizens are more fully informed of their right to come in and speak about the applications. And the town does it by sending postcards, by requiring applicants to post the signs in front of their homes, by using the internet, and also I think we still post it here on the bulletin board, as it's been done for hundreds of years, I assume. So we think it works well because we appreciate when folks come in and let us know what they think about an application. And with that being said, I'd ask everyone to rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you, everyone. And Harold, may we have the first application, please?
Yes. Application number 1, Charles Barker, 2077 Barrett Road, Penfield, New York, 14526. Requests an area variance from Chapter 250, Article 5-5.1-F-12-B, or a determination of a pre-existing non-conforming structure to allow an existing barn to be set back less than 50 feet from the side property line. The property is owned by Laura Hunting Barker and Charles Barker and is zoned R-1-15. This is SBL number 139.03-1-13. This is application 16Z-0032.
And before you start, if I might interrupt you already.
That's okay.
I just wanted to note for the record that we did advertise this application in two manners, different sections of our code. One for a request for an area variance, the other for a continuation and expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming use. And after some discussion earlier today at our work session, the board's decided to proceed on the request for the expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming use. So you can address it in that manner.
When I submitted the applications, Harold Morehouse suggested I would fill out both of those because the board might want to take one or the other. So that was fine by me. The reason we're here, by the way, my name is Charles Barker. I live at 2077 Baird Road, Penfield, New York. I've been there for 19 years. What we would like to do is to take the barn, which definitely needs repairs, to be moved 30 feet from its present point, going away from the road west to line up with the garage is right next to where the barn would be. We would actually do some repairs on the barn before it could be moved. And the gentleman that is going to be doing the moving is Peter Matthews, and he will get up and speak after I'm finished here. We intend to do the repairs, make have a new roof put on it once it's moved, replace the windows, upgrade the appearance. And this will be put on a foundation, and will deter the rodents that have taken residence in the area for a while, and also would make it look more presentable and not as a distraction to what some neighbors might consider an undesirable. This way we can go about beautifying the area and making sure that things meet all requirements of the zoning and the code of conduct that Penfield takes care of. And we would like to just be right on the up and up. Any questions that you would like? I know that I filled out all the information. Basically, it would be desirable change by moving the barn. The trees next to the barn right now would be pruned, and they would also be taken away from overhang of the neighbor's property, so that wouldn't be a concern, which they are now hanging over. I talked to the neighbor on Sunday explaining a little bit what we were going to do, and she seemed quite happy with that. I know I also have the right to basically fix the barn where it is, but we'd like to move it and put a good solid foundation and get rid of all the entrances to where these critters have been coming to. And so they'll have to find a new home. And we have enough acreage in the back where they can go back there with the deer, and we don't have an antelope, but a lot of different animals go back there. So other than that, should I turn this over to Peter Matthews?
Hold on one second. Can you talk about what the barn's currently used for?
Not being used for anything.
Okay.
It was an old granary. The property, goes back quite a few years. It hadn't been used. We've been there 19 years and we've never used it for anything. I know there was a sofa and some games that were up there because it was more or less a clubhouse for some people that lived there before. In fact, Dr. Steinkraus lived there. He was a longtime Penfield doctor. And his daughter used to have rabbit hutches in the bottom half of the granary is what it actually is. But actually, we've never used it for anything. We just want to restore it. We have no plans to really use it for anything, but as time goes on, it needs to be done, and any use that we would use maybe to store something, but we have enough room in our house and for 10 rooms, and we don't really want to collect a lot of things. It's not going to be a storage area.
Sure, sure. Yeah, and then that helps it also meet the pre-existing requirements, that if you start changing the use of it, then you would fall out of that category. So that's more why I asked. Okay.
Yeah.
Why move it besides the fact, I mean, why not move its way to the back of the yard?
Really, it would have to take a whole lot of trees out. We have quite a bit of room back there, but it's going to be costly enough to put a foundation where it is right now. We're talking probably several $1,000s to just move it to where we would like to move it. And then you add in the cost of the foundation and the carpentry work that needs to be done, the roof, the windows and everything like that. That would definitely go way over our budget if we had to move it further back.
Okay.
And that's why I brought up the fact that we actually could, fix it where it is. But because we have talked with Timber Top Tree Service, who would be doing the tree service for us. I've done some of the minor tree work, but my abilities only go so far.
Join the crowd.
Now, I have moved things at Xerox for a number of years, but nothing of this scale. So that's why I've contracted with Peter Matthews, and he will fill you in on his end of what he needs to do for us.
And I don't think it was mentioned yet, but you're going to be moving from what's basically right on the property line. I think you're 2 inches or so from the property line. You're actually going to move it.
On the northeast corner, it's 3 feet. On the northwest corner, it's 2 inches.
Okay.
And that was established when the property was sold. It used to be a farm, and there were a bunch of houses between where we are and where Wheelock is were built in the mid-50s. So that's when that property was sold. In fact, the farm was so large at one point, the community center used to be part of the farm back in the 1800s. So, but we just want to preserve the character of it and do the right thing by saving it.
Sure, sure. That's all I've got.
Yeah, sure.
Again, to clarify, you're not changing the size, the outward shell size of the...
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
And it's going about 10 feet from the property line is where you want to
That's
move
what
it?
we desired, yes.
Approximately where the stakes are now?
Yes.
Okay, they're on the property.
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions of this gentleman from the board? Okay, do you want to bring somebody else up?
Peter Matthews, he works for, his company is Peter Matthews House Moving, and he'll fill you in.
Okay.
I'll answer any questions you've got.
Okay, I'll start you off. You said you're going to move that barn without disturbing the 2 trees that are in front of it and the one that is on the side of it?
Yes, we're going to jack it up and twist it a little bit so that it comes away from that tree, and then roll it towards the rear, and then roll it towards the side.
Wow. I'm impressed.
That end is not so great, so it's going to take some effort, but yes, it's going to be very...
Okay, yeah, because that's what he said when I talked to Charles, and I went, wow.
Yeah, it's going to be, right now, the building is somewhat leaning right against the 2 trees. I mean,
Yeah,
it's right
exactly.
there.
Okay, that's all I had.
Anything else? Anyone in the audience care to speak about this? Okay,
That was
thank you,
easy.
gentlemen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Application number 2, Junior League on behalf of Crossroads Community Church, 1188 Jackson Road, Webster, New York, 14580. request an area variance from Chapter 250, Article 7-7.2-F of the code to allow a parking lot expansion with less buffer at 1188 Jackson Road. The property is owned by the Free Methodist Church of Webster and is zoned R-1-20. This is SBL number 095.01-1-14.1. This is application number 16Z-0031.
I'm J.R. Leaf, trustee at Crossroads Church. What we would like to do is, looking at our map here, this is the property of, the adjacent property to Mr. Olick, who is with us here today. And our current parking lot, which I've not shown here, but our current parking lot is about 20 or so feet from the property line. It's been that way for I don't know how many years. We're repaving the parking lot and expanding a little bit. And what we would like to do is get a variance so that we can be within 15 feet of the current property line. Currently, there are all kinds of trees along the property line here. Mr. Olick has one little access way that he can use his tractor and trailer to access firewood here on the makeshift building. But other than that, it's pretty well closed off.
Okay. I guess a couple questions I had is you're in front of the planning board right now. You submitted that to the planning board, and the planning board is now making a decision on it.
Yeah, the planning board gave us an okay contingent upon our variance approval.
Okay, and so Mr. Olix is here, and I was going to comment that he gave you a letter stating that he'll waive the 50-foot variance to 35 foot, or to 15 foot, because
Correct.
that's...
Even less than that.
Okay, thank you, sir, appreciate it. If you'd like to talk later, no problem. Are you going to add any lighting to it?
No lighting is planned. We do have lighting at the back corner of the church.
And you're going to leave it there, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's not going to change, it's not going to be more wattage or anything
No,
else like that in
that's
effect,
as is.
Mr. Olix? Okay. How long do you keep the lights on in the church?
There's motion detector sensors on the lights.
Okay, so you don't keep them on 24 hours?
No.
You keep them powered for 24 hours, and only if somebody goes to where there's an eye, then it comes on
Correct.
and shines, right? Good. And you don't need any stormwater management because it's under 6,000 foot, am I correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so you have no problem with the water runoff, and it will be graded away from Mr. Olix's area?
Yes, it will.
Okay. Very simple. I think I'm done with
I've
that.
got one.
Yeah, wait a minute. No,
Yeah.
Sorry, Danny.
Are you, I know a lot of times when we issue variances like this, we often ask for some kind of buffer or screening put in there. Are you opposed to putting any kind of additional evergreen type foliage across the backside? But that's on your property right now. I'm thinking more on their property.
I'll address that.
Sure. Sure.
Address that one.
Okay. But are you,
Well, he's helping a lot.
I don't know. I'm a friend.
Obviously, it's good.
but is there any opposition to adding some additional to that along where it's going to
Maybe we don't
extend
want it.
around? Because and you will now be wrapping more around and more cars will be up closer to the area.
Actually, yeah, they would be a few feet closer. I think some of the trees that are there now might be on our property, but I'm not real sure of that. I think there's probably both. What do you think, Lee?
The trees that are on there are my trees
Yeah,
that
Jeb,
were
come up.
moved when
Let him finish.
when I put the sewer in.
Okay.
You know what, can you do us a favor? You might as well come up
Yes.
now. Give us, just for the record, give us your name and address, and then both of you can continue to present.
My name is Lee Olek. I live at 1175 State Road. I'm that's my property right there. And along this, right here, on my property, I put several evergreens that are probably 15 to 18 feet tall. I don't know what the height is.
That's about right.
But
it's there to hide. I have a barn there that I built. It's there to hide it from the churchyard. You just hide it. On this side here, I did the same thing. On the south side, I did the same thing. But then when the sewer line was being dug, they were going to dig up all my trees, and I didn't want that. My trees were on the property line. So when they put the sewer line in, I sat there and supervised where I wanted those trees to be placed. So they were now this way. However, I would say they took 10 feet to the right of way for the sewer. So they put my trees, they dug them up and planted them on the other side of, so there's more than sufficient, I feel more than sufficient buffer there.
Yeah, so you don't feel any more buffer is needed?
I don't need it.
Okay.
Don't need it. As a matter of fact, I told them, you want to use it, don't drive into the trees, that's all.
Well, you're certainly a good neighbor, I'll tell you that. Right?
Well, I just want you to know, I'm not a member of the church, but I've been a good neighbor. I want to be a good neighbor. And I've been there since 1967. So and this is the third time I've been up here for the same purpose. And each time I ask whoever's sitting there, give them the permission, give them the help that they need, because they're a growing church and they need the extra parking lot.
Thank you.
I got a technical question.
Yeah, sure.
And Carol has a couple.
Is there an existing variance for the parking? Not you, I'm asking actually Mr.
Existing variance?
Yeah, I mean, how far is the existing pavement from Mr. Olick's property?
I would guess 20 or 25 feet.
I would say that.
So it's already out of compliance?
Oh, yeah.
How long has it been there?
Since I've been in the church, that was the late 80s.
And since I've been there, it's been there, so.
So isn't this really an expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming use?
Well, I and some other staff members both thought that at some time in the early 90s, there was a variance granted, but we could not find any evidence of that because there was a previous expansion of the parking lot area during that time period. I searched for about a week.
Okay, well, I said that this is the third time I've been here
Right.
for the same. The first time was, I would say, about 15 years ago, maybe even more than that. I can't tell.
Do you remember the purpose?
Yes,
What, was it the parking lot or?
to expand the parking lot.
Okay. Well, you have a
And,
good memory.
They haven't repaved or paved it. It's in pretty decrepit condition as it is. So, need to be done.
So
They
there's
might as
probably
well
a
do it
variance,
all,
you just
right?
can't find it.
I can't find it, yeah.
No big deal. We've granted new variance,
How
Mike.
far away is your home from this parking lot?
From the park,
Just a question.
You can see it there.
my house is right here.
Way up there, right? Long
Right
way.
there. So from this part to the property line is probably 30, 40, 50 feet?
But it looks like it's at least 100 foot away from where they park because that's 30 feet from the
Yes.
grassy area,
Yes.
right?
Now,
The scales here.
they're grassy, I don't know how far up this has been expanded to, but
Right about where your finger is.
This is where it
yeah,
currently is here.
this is where it currently is. Well, that's gotta be from my property line to here, it's gotta be good 25, 30, 40 feet.
Okay.
And that's to the point. But very rarely has anybody parked along that area close to my property line. I have no objections.
Okay.
None, that's why I'm here to get you to agree to do it.
Okay.
How
We
many
hear ya.
parking spaces do you have now?
We have another question here.
How many parking spaces do you have now?
Currently, if we park off of the blacktop, we can do a maximum of 40, 42, something like that.
41 it says.
And then how many more will you be adding?
I believe this has us getting 59 or 60.
60.
So your congregation has really increased?
Pardon?
Your congregation has really increased considerably?
Yeah, we've increased quite a bit in the last year or two.
And how often is this parking lot used? How many times a week would you say you have something going on?
We use it on Sunday morning. We use it, well, a minimal use Wednesday evening for practice for Sunday service. And I believe there is currently a Wednesday morning Bible study, and there's maybe 6 or 8 vehicles that use it.
So mainly
But
Sunday.
that's not all of it. They have things going on, other activities where they have, they have other activities where they need more parking for those activities.
Funerals and that type
And
of thing.
a lot of times, they're parked along the road, they're parked, as a matter of fact, frequently, I allow people to park in my driveway, that's a large driveway, and I allow them to park in my driveway or even on the grass.
So would you say the lack of parking could be a safety issue then? Or am I putting words in your mouth?
No. I wouldn't, if it was a safety issue, I'd been, you're standing up much longer than that, to tell you. I don't believe it's a safety issue.
But they clearly need them
But
additional
they
parking.
clearly need an addition, yes.
Okay. Anything else from the board? Anyone in the audience care to speak about this?
I want him as my neighbor.
Yeah. We all do.
Yeah, you're kidding.
Okay, well, thank you very much. That was the second and last matter, so,
May I ask you another question? though?
sure.
And this is probably the wrong spot. On that map, there's a little notice down at the bottom of the map that says the church is in a flood zone.
Okay.
I don't know if you can answer that. No, you can't see it on that small map because I can't read it with even a magnifying glass.
Was it like?
It does, I can read it, believe it or not. I have bifocals on. It says
Okay.
parcel lies in the lower right-hand corner.
All right.
Parcel lies in flood zone,
This the flood zone?
yeah, X per firm map number.
I have a question. I don't think you can answer it, or you may not be able to, but you might be able to tell me how to find out. What is the source of that flood zone
That's determined by FEMA.
by, and how do you,
Your federal government.
The federal government, no, it's consulting engineers, Army Corps of Engineers, you know, and they all have got some hydraulic calculations.
okay, well, the reason I'm asking that question is because if the church is in the flood zone, I'm downhill from the church. I'm in deep.
Well, my gut feeling is the flood zone that they're representing on the mapping here is in relationship to the pond.
To the pond.
At
Okay, well,
Cranberry Cove.
In order.
And their properties abut each other.
Okay, that was my initial thought. But I wanted, the reason I'm asking, if I'm in the flood zone and I get flooded, I have no recourse. I have no insurance. I'd have to have federal insurance. And then the guy next, the guy that's right on the south side of the church, he's also asking the same question.
So who would you suggest they call, Harold, if...
Call me in the morning.
Call Harold in the morning.
Okay, yeah, because this kind of shows, isn't this the flood area in here?
I don't know if,
In order
this
for the
is the
church,
pond, but the pond may not necessarily be the limits of the flood zone.
Okay.
So
Yeah, Harold can look it up for you, call him in the morning.
I can bring the mapping up in the morning.
okay,
I mean,
thank you.
if you want to provide an email address, I can produce a map and email it over to you, or I can just
I'm
mail
not
it.
that technical.
Okay. I can mail it to you if you like.
No, I'll give you a call.
Yeah, give him a call.
I'll give you a call. I want to find out what the flood zone is. If it's the
It's not
pond-
recently, I'll tell you
I'll
that.
tell you what, if it's the pond, no problem.
Yeah.
Because I'm up a good, I would say, 6 feet. And for anything to be flooded to that high, all of Anshin Drive is
Bye-bye.
underwater.
Yeah.
Okay,
We
great.
Just hope it's a 100-year flood zone.
Pardon?
Hope it's a 100-year flood zone.
Okay, thanks, folks. The hearings are going to be adjourned. We'll take a brief recess and reconvene in the back. Thank you all.
Lee?
All right, folks, I think we're ready to reconvene. And we have to take care of some secret things, obviously, with each of these. So let's go to number one.
Number one, I believe it's an unlisted action. I think it is. I motion to grant a neg deck for unlisted, no likely impacts.
I second.
Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And then motion to grant the pre-existing non-conforming status when we moved the barn. He's actually putting it more into compliance with our current code now by moving this. He's not going to alter the structure. He's actually restoring it to a pre-existing state. He seemed very familiar to know what the barn was used with and has done his research on the various historical aspects about it, so he was aware of that. And I think it's going to benefit the neighbor too by being farther away right from the property line, so there'll be a benefit for the neighbors.
And allow them to deal with the trees.
I'll
Yes.
second
It's gonna
that.
help.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve an expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming use, and we have a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, unanimous.
Thank you so much. And
Good
the
luck.
reason I know so much about it, for the last 10 years, up until December, I was the president of the Penfield Heritage Association. And when I first bought the property, I looked at the abstract, and I read all the details on the property, how it was broken down. And my wife and I are very much into history. That's why I told this gentleman, I said, we talked for 3 hours about our history, because she's a direct descendant of John and Priscilla Alden that came over on the Mayflower. And my family settled Andover, Massachusetts, but the connecting was 3 of my relatives and 1 of her relatives were accused of being witches during the Salem witch trial. And we admitted it, and they just reformed us, and here I am. But thank you, gentlemen and ladies, thank you so much, and I'm sure people will be coming by from time to time. All are welcome. I have my own little collection of caution tape that I'll string around so people won't be getting hurt, and I even have a couple of spare hard hats. Thank you again for your time.
And actually, the reason why I'm here is I'm part of the moving crew, but I'm also a spy because I'm part of the Lima zoning board. I thought I'd view you guys.
Thanks again.
Really, the TV is very sexy, I have to say. We don't have that. We don't have that.
Thanks,
Good
have
luck.
a good night. All right, number two.
Number 2, I make a motion that it's a neg deck.
Okay, so type 2, did we?
Yep, type 2.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right?
On this one too, I make a motion that we accept this. It seems like they need it. The person that's mostly affected is certainly here in support of it. And since it's not going to really be a huge change, I make a motion that we accept it.
Second.
Further discussion?
No,
You know,
I'll
the only-
agree, yeah, because it's all gravel and they're parking there already too.
Yeah, right. You know, I got a question for you. I never had a chance to ask you. I saw the basketball hoop there. Now, unless it's for your neighbor's use, what do you use that basketball?
Uses it.
Oh, okay, so in other words, the kids in the neighborhood?
A lot of kids come in there.
Yeah, it's very nice. That's what I thought it was.
When it's up, it's used.
Yeah.
Okay, motion to approve in a second. All those in favor? Aye. Fantastic. Good luck. Thank you all for coming in.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Pleasure meeting
Thank
you.
you.
Any other business for this board?
No.
All
How
right.
many we got next month?
Harold?
We'll stand adjourned. Thank you very much.
What's her name, Joanne, the girl that was
What do
on
we
the
got?
board? Is she up?